As the Boston Celtics offseason churns along, we have not yet heard the fate of Al Horford, but we can all assume that he is on his way out of Boston. So that we got to shift into some new topics this summer. On today's show, we're going to cover a new Damian Lillard free agency update. As we know, the Celtics were on the list of teams to register some interest with Dame, and there might be some mutual interest there as well. Also, the Celtics made some 2 roster moves before Summer League to round out their roster to head into Vegas next week. So we're going to go over those signings and potentially a guy who can make the C's roster come the regular season. But before we get into all of it, go down below and hit that thumbs up icon. Like today's video. If you miss Boston Celtics basketball just as much as I do, because I'm an absolute diehard, go down below and hit that thumbs up icon and like today's video. All right, let's get into it. Damian Lillard, is he coming to the Celtics, and could it be soon? Well, the soon thing we'll get into later, but as far as where Damian Lillard is in his free agency, obviously we know he was waived and stretched by the Milwaukee Bucks, 5 years, $22.5 million each season. So it's going to be, a hefty price tag that the Milwaukee Bucks are paying to have Damian Lillard off of their basketball team. Now he can, for the first time in his career, pick where he wants to play basketball, and it can be at a discount as he is facing that torn Achilles tendon. And could it be in Boston, as our franchise player as well is facing that same injury? The Athletic reported this originally when Lillard hit the open market. So not surprisingly, league sources say, Lillard received calls from several contending teams quickly after the news of his Bucks ending broke. League sources say the Golden State Warriors, Boston Celtics, and Los Angeles Lakers are known to be among the many teams that would have interest in doing a deal sooner rather than later. And then remember, Adam Himmelsbach kind of reported this, and Himmelsbach's one of the most tapped-in reporters in Celtics media, so he would not report this if it was a non-story. He said, league sources said that the Celtics are among a group of teams that have shown early interest in signing the 9-time All-Star. A league source also made it clear that Lillard could have interest in Boston too, citing his respect for the organization and his long friendship with Jason Tatum. This is all moving a little bit fast here, but not so fast as Chris Haynes then reported this. Said free agent Damian Lillard is open to signing with a team this offseason under the right terms and conditions and to continue rehabbing in Portland, which is where he wants to be with his family and his children and all that stuff. He is receiving ample interest, but is in no rush to make a decision. So we're going to wait. We're going to have to wait and see as the offseason goes on what Damian Lillard will want to end up doing for 25-26, or how long he will want to be with a organization for that season. Teams are going to be trying to send out a 2-year contract offer for him to play on a pretty cheap deal coming off of that really unfortunate injury, and who knows what that deal will end up being. But I think there's a good reason, and a couple good reasons, that it should be with the Boston Celtics. The case I'm making for Boston, and this is far from Dame's perspective, right? Obviously the C's would have no problem signing Damian Lillard to a veteran minimum contract for 2 seasons. But from Dame's perspective, why would it make sense for him to go to Boston? He's making all the money from the Milwaukee Bucks, so it doesn't really matter where he gets this deal from. It's all going to be around the same dollar amounts. If it ends up getting into a bidding war, well, then you can count the Boston Celtics out of anything like that. The C's also lost their starting point guard that just won a championship with them. And, Dame's probably going to want to play a good bit and still be a featured player in an offense. So, yeah, we have Peyton Pritchard still running that 6-man role, but Dame can come in and start right away if he's able to come back at a pretty high level from this injury. Plus, like Himmelsbach reported, Dame has respect for the Celtics. It's a winning organization, and he's a friend of Jason Tatum's. They played on Team USA together. They've been a part of All-Star Weekend together. Just 2 guys who are just gamers and hoopers at the end of the day, and they respect the heck out of each other. And this is a championship-winning core. Like I said, winning organization, but this group has won a title already. And look, you add the Kristaps Porzingis, you add the Drew Holiday, but the core at the end of the day was Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. And those 3 remain in Boston. You add Damian Lillard add on top of that as a cheap addition, and you're looking at one of the best teams in the entire NBA. Back when Damian Lillard was originally supposed to get traded from the Portland Trailblazers in 2023, Mark J. Spears came out and said this, Boston was never actually too much of a big-time player, but there was rumblings about the possibility of him teaming up with JT. He said, I know Jason Tatum has called him to try to get in his ear, but his focus is definitely on Miami. Obviously, we know that didn't end up going down. Miami is now probably going to be at least have some level of interest in Lillard as he's hitting free agency here, and we'll see if he ends up signing there. I don't know if the Miami Heat are going to be all that competitive in the next 2 seasons, So Lillard's opinion on joining down there has probably changed. Jimmy Butler's not there anymore either. I could see him wanting to go to Golden State now, though. Who knows if he'll end up wanting to go back into his hometown area down in Oakland, or he'll want to prioritize probably the best chance that he has at winning in playing with the C's. And I'm not saying like he's going to be this monster contributor, but it's absolutely worth the flyer. We're talking about a first ballot Hall of Fame player type of guy here, at least skill level. The accolades and the hate that Dame has always gotten, especially early on in his career, it's just so undeserved. But he was still putting up awesome numbers last year in Milwaukee, man. Like 25 points a night, 7 dimes on 38% from 3. Like, you don't find many guys in this league that can do that with the extended range, the limitless range that Lillard, kind of has. Like, people have really been kind of disrespecting him over the past couple of months, I feel like. Like, we're talking about a generational three-point shooter. Not one of the best shooters in the league. Like, no. An all-time generational outside shooter in Damian Lillard. Does he have the athletic burst anymore? Probably not. Is he at the peak of his powers defensively, even if he ever was, kind of really good, if he ever was good on that end? Absolutely not. Dame's a cone on defense, and after an Achilles injury, I can't imagine it's much better either. But if we're talking about the veteran minimum contracts here, like, there's just no reason the Celtics should not at least get involved, because you got to think about it. They're a team with money tied up. They lose Drew Holiday because of their finances. They could bring in a Hall of Fame player for vet minimum type of money for him to rehab and get come off of an Achilles injury. Well, you at least got to take the chance when you think about these 2-year windows that teams have to operate under now. And then you get Chris Mannix saying this as far as Dame's timeline and what he's feeling is this free agency cycle, or I guess his first ever free agency cycle. He said, when I've talked to people around Lillard, I think he wants to rehab in Portland or do a lot of it in Portland. He spent the last couple of years away from his family, away from his kids, living in Milwaukee. I talked to him about this in the past, and others have as well, like how difficult that was for him. I feel like he'd like to spend the bulk of next year around them, and I wouldn't expect him to be looking for a deal right now. He's got plenty of money coming his way from Milwaukee. He's got all the resources in the world potentially at his fingertips. I think there's going to be a decision he makes months from now rather than days and weeks from now. And I think this all kind of lines up with Chris Haynes' most latest report. I don't expect Lillard to sign in the next week or even the next month. Like, he's not gonna, like, there's no reason for him to like rush to sign before training camp. Like, he's gonna be out there on the basketball court. He's not going to be, and he's gonna be doing most of the rehab next year in Portland. Remember, Haynes' report also said that under the right terms and conditions, this contract. So like, it probably is having something to do with not even being with the team for the majority of this season, then rejoining them as it gets closer and closer to the postseason run, or if the Celtics make the postseason, and into the next offseason when he gets ramped up back into basketball action. So this all kind of lines up and checks out. I could see him joining a team during the season, whether it be in the late fall or early 2026 or something like that. But I mean, this is a move where you're focused on 26, 27, and who knows, potentially beyond if you're Boston, and who knows how flexible they'll be in 2027. But you bring him in, and like, you're looking at one of the best potential starting fives in the entire NBA. You have a TVD on the center spot there. Who knows? Does Amari Williams evolve? Do they make a move next year when they're a little bit more flexible? You have Dame on a better minimum deal where he's making $3 million a season. Like, that would be unbelievable if you're the Boston Celtics, still having Jason Tatum coming off that injury, hopefully at 100%, and Derek White and Jaylen Brown complimenting all these guys as well. What do you guys think? Would you sign Damian Lillard to a 2-year deal, yes or no? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, if this is a smart move for the C's or not, or would you rather remain completely flexible, as the C's are already very, very tied up with their finances as it stands right now? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, this is kind of where I was going with that. It depends on what moves Brad makes in the coming months, right? As the offseason goes on, as we get into next season, if Lillard remains unsigned, then we kind of have to look at what Boston does to manipulate the cap a little bit more and shed some more salary off of their books. If there is a deal to be made for Damian Lillard, then Brad Stevens will probably go after Damian Lillard. But he won't cripple the team financially and face more repeater tax penalties and put themselves in a disadvantageous position in a year where they're not going to contend for the championship. And being in those positions in any given year can hurt you down the line as far as your ability to construct your roster. So he's not going to cripple the team financially just in order to bring Dame in for a 1-year flyer. But if the deal is there and he sheds some more cap and makes some trades this offseason or into next, I think it would be a very, very smart move to go out and acquire Damian Lillard. We'll talk more in a second about the Celtics roster moves, but get hooked up with this awesome Celtics title tee from 2024 when they were lifting the Larry O'Brien. It's less than half off right now. I mean, that's so awesome. Get it at this link right here, chatsports.com/champsale. It's got all the caricatures of all the people who were rocking and rolling with us when the confetti was falling down in TD Garden. It's in the comment section. It's in the description of today's video as well. Get it at this link right here, chatsports.com/champsale. All right, Jay King reported this a few days late last week. Jalen Bridges, a former Baylor Bear, has been added to the Celtics Summer League roster, big wing, he said, and he will be going to camp with the team in the fall with a chance to make the roster. So the Celtics making a legit offseason UDFA kind of signing here. He's going to be in year 2 of his career. He was on a 2-way last year with the Phoenix Suns, and to be honest with you, didn't do all too much with Phoenix. And I'm not going to lie, like if you weren't able to get more than an 8-game opportunity with how bad the Suns were last year, I don't know how good exactly he may be. But he played 8 games, like a couple minutes a night, like a point. Like, yeah, there's not much on Jalen Bridges here. He's a big, long wing, can kind of get out in transition, defend near the rim and stuff like that. He played majority of his year in the G League, starting over there with the Valley Suns or whatever they're called in Phoenix. He averaged 14 points a game, 6 rebounds. He shot 38% from 3 on 7 attempts, which is something of note. If he's going to be launching at a high volume here, we'll see what he can do for Boston Summer League roster. This will be a camp body who's contending with, Josh Minot and a couple of these wings off the bench. Ugo Gonzalez, who's going to be a rookie here, 6'7", 6'8", Baylor Shireman, Sam Hauser, type of frames here to just compete in the Celtics training camp and summer league. Just keep bringing these bodies in, keep bringing these big wings in, and eventually one is going to stand out among the rest, and we're going to be looking at a pretty solid rotational piece in the gap year next season. Celtics also added another player to their summer league roster, and that came in the form of Louisiana Tech legend Kenneth Lofton Jr. He was a dog, man, in college. This guy around the rim, getting out in transition. I know he's like kind of doing it in slow motion, but just a big body, elite passing vision and precision. He was a dominant on the glass, especially the offensive glass as well, and around the rim. Like, he was super efficient in college. Really, really fun player to watch, and hasn't really had the biggest opportunity in his NBA career so far, but has flashed certain times when he's had those opportunities. Played 4 games with the Utah Jazz 2 seasons ago, and he ended up averaging like 10 points a night or 13 points a night or something like that during those 4 games. Overall, his seasons haven't been very long. He's played 24 games 3 years ago and then 21 games 2 seasons ago. It's tough for a player like that who's not really athletic whatsoever, doesn't really have a blazing NBA speed to get an elongated chance in a rotation, but we'll see what he can do in Summer League. I think he would absolutely dominate and fill up the stat sheet over there. Now, the Celtics Summer League roster is as follows. They do have Baylor Shireman coming back in this thing, Jordan Walsh, Miles Norris, a couple of guys who were on last year's and maybe even the year before, as in Miles Norris's case, Celtics Summer League roster. Ugo Gonzalez, Amari Williams, and Max Shulga, the 3 drafted players in 2025 by Boston. Aaron Scott out of St. John's, the undrafted rookie, played a lot of his basketball over at North Texas. Ben Gregg, the big out of Gonzaga, stretch big there. Zach Hicks out of Penn State, we'll be seeing him a good bit. Hayden Gray, Kenneth Lofton Jr., and Jalen Bridges there. Bridges brought in on a training camp deal. So I'm excited to see these players play just some offseason hoops, man. It's always fun to see guys wear Celtics jerseys in July. I can't wait for Summer League, but who are you guys most excited to watch when the C's get back on the basketball court? Let me know down in the comment section who your guy is for the Celtics Summer League this offseason, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Lock us in for constant Celtics offseason content all summer long. We'll see you guys in the next one, and as always, let's go C's.